Yeah. All right, there we go.
Looks
Look
like
at
we're
that.
live.
We're live. We're live in living color. Good morning, Mikey.
It's a Maladress Maniac Monday.
It's a Monday with a lot of M's in it. I know that,
It's
Michael. I know it's
mellifluous.
mellifluous. Yes. There's a mellifluous aspect to it. There's a maudlin maudlin aspect to it. Well, come on, talk. A maudlin aspect to it. There's a lot of things, but the first thing I got to ask you is, how you doing, pal?
I'm better than the people in the Middle East. I know things are coming together and hostages are being released and the truce has been extended and it's all wonderful, but I am so sick of listening to spokespeople from both sides speak to me about what's going on. And they all mention the same people. They all mention the same hostages. They all mention the same deal. They all mention the same future. They all mention the same war. They all mention the same intractable situation that they're in. And the impression I get is they can't wait for this peace to be over so they can get back to some real killing.
Yeah, it seems like there is a group of people that certainly can't wait for this to be, be done, so they can go back to a warrior way of life, and it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you how I used to look at cartoons sometimes, I guess, that would have that one character that would get, things would keep happening to him and they get so mad and so mad. And finally, at one point, they could release themselves. They go and they destroy somebody or something like that. Or, the tension and the anger builds up inside. And I kind of get that that's happening with Israel right now. That they're pissed off that they can't. I mean, they're happy that they're getting people back, but they're pissed off that they can't just go and wipe everybody out like they want to do. And so that is building up and building up so that when they finally do get the green light to go ahead in there and do what they're going to do, that what they're going to do is going to be a lot worse because they're going to have all of this pent up anger inside.
Well,
Which,
they better calm down because it looks like the good money is on extending the ceasefire for at least 2 times until we can get the hostages released.
well, yeah, I know they extended it this morning, I guess, for two more days, I guess.
Correct. Yes, you're right.
So they did that, and it's a shame that cooler heads can't prevail in this situation. And
Cooler heads. Let's see. Where would you look for a cooler head if you were in Israel right
you
now?
wouldn't. You wouldn't. Yeah, you
You
don't
could
have
look.
you can't find a cooler head in the Mideast.
You got to go all the way to you got to get all the way to Greece or Italy. You got to go around that way. Don't come this way. Go that way.
Yeah, it's nobody can. And listen, rightly so. When you have a bunch of people that come over a fence and start to kill you, it ain't easy to have a cool head.
No.
It's not. And it's well within their wheelhouse to be pissed off about what's going on. And go ahead.
Remind me, Vinnie, not to go to any music festivals within a mile of the border with Hamas.
Well, yeah, I think you got to be a little nuts to go to a music festival or to any big public event over there. To be just flat out honest with you, um, I I just had I just look at that place and look at the number of bombings and so on and so forth. And every time you get more than 4 people standing together on a street corner
Look out.
in Israel, you get the potential for something nasty to happen. It's like there's people that are just waiting for that bus to come along or that this or that or whatever they can figure out how to bomb. Again, this is a conflict that's gone on for 5,000 years.
Now, if you're Joe Biden and you want to figure out what's going on today, you can call Benjamin Netanyahu. You can call the Qataris. You can call the Jordanians. You can call Egypt. Who do you call if you want to talk to somebody with Hamas? Anybody. Name one person. I don't know anybody's name. I don't know the leader. I don't know the second leader. I don't know who's on his council.
Well,
I don't know the names of anybody.
you call Qatar because they seem to have a relationship. Um, much as we did when we wanted to talk to Fidel Castro in Cuba.
You
It was always
have to call Switzerland.
yeah facilitated through Switzerland or Canada or some other third party that.
But who do you ask for? You just say, put Mr. Hamas on the phone. Well, we don't have a Mr. Hamas. We have
Well,
a.
I think they pretty much have a good, probably in some of those files that Biden had in his garage, sitting in his the trunk of his Corvette, which I will tell you is a very safe place because anybody goes near my Corvette, you shoot at him. So it's one of the most secure places you can actually find, but I'm sure that the intelligence services know who to deal with, and that's exactly what happens.
I just am of the opinion that those names are never mentioned. No official from Hamas is ever, General Pokey Doke is never referred to by name.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of guys that I've seen on CNN and on shots they've shown of Hamas television. I mean, it's kind of hard to figure out that you can't find these guys. They have a television station. Follow the signal, not for nothing. But there's a couple of people that they have shown. One especially kind of older, gray-haired guy, and he seems to be the guy that is the outward spokesman.
The
I
guy
mean,
that
we
did
always
the interview.
have it doesn't run the way it runs here over there, which is an obvious statement. But I mean, remember what was his name? The Iranian guy, Abdul Hassan. What was it? Hassan Bani Sadr. Uh,
I remember the spokesperson for Saddam Hussein was a.
And then they had, well, in the Iranian thing, they had that guy Abdul Hassan Bani Sadr or something like that. Anyway, he was the guy. He was, I guess, the point guard. He set everything up. He was the guy that kind of said everything that the Ayatollah told him to. But then one day they just decided they didn't need him anymore. And they took him out and killed him. And a news,
Like you do when you're close to the flame, you can't last for long.
yeah. So I mean, maybe he didn't dot an I or cross
Plus,
a T or something like that
if
on the
you're
press.
working if you're working closely with a man of God like that, the chances of you dying, disappearing, being burned at the stake increase.
Yeah, it's so you have, I don't know what the logical way they pick these people are. I wouldn't want to be one because it just doesn't look like a gratifying job. I mean, yeah, maybe you get to sit in the front seat on the bus, but you know, you got to deal with everything. But through their intelligence and everything, they have ways of setting this stuff up and knowing who these players are and knowing who the people are. Usually, you like to think um, that they know who to contact and who to talk to.
What I
Um,
think is that when they sit down at the table and have to agree that they agree, who has to agree that they agree first? Do you agree? I'm not going to agree till he agrees to agree. Well, he can't agree till you agree. Do you agree? I'm not agreeing until he agrees. Do you
well,
agree?
I think that was the system for the when we start. What did we start the Paris peace talks in '67 or '68?
They couldn't agree on the shape of the table.
And they couldn't. Yeah, they couldn't agree. I mean, nobody could agree on anything.
Can you imagine sitting down to talk about peace and someone said, well, what shape's the table going to be? What do you mean? We can't sit down until we know what shape the table's going to be.
Yeah, it's
Where did they come
amazing.
up with that one?
It's amazing. I mean, that's worse than you got to pick all the red M&Ms out of the M&M bowls. I mean, and meanwhile, every day, 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 or 15 new pictures are on the nightly news of young men who were killed
Young men who
because
didn't have a
these
seat at the
freaking idiots
table.
can't figure out what shaped table.
What did they decide on anyway? Was it round, oblong, oval,
I think it was rectangular. I think it was, if I remember
octagonal?
right from the pictures that I remember seeing, I think it was long and rectangular. And the head negotiator from North Vietnam was on that end, and the United States guy was on that end. And I don't even know how the hell they could hear each other.
Now, when they brought sandwiches and drinks to the table, they had to be very careful where they put them because if you put them in the wrong place, the talks are off.
Well, that was it. I mean, are the Americans going to eat those delicious uh, banh mi? Or are they going to order bologna and lettuce and mustard? And
Well, I
American,
ordered a I ordered a patty melt, and if I don't get it the way I want it, these talks are off.
Michael, I could imagine that people were killed over less. It just seems to me that you just had two sides that had become so trenched in. And I mean, we talked about this last week that Ho Chi Minh originally came to the United States and says, "Hey, I want a country just like yours.
So help me out.
So help me out." And they said, "Oh, no, we can't. Oh,
No, we're going to stand with the French on this.
that big C word, that communism."
The French seem to have the right idea.
Yeah, it's I mean, we like colonization. It's a good thing. It keeps you slant-eyed people in line.
Keeps big countries busy.
It was quite stupid. Quite stupid. And
You know what a SIG alert is, Vinny?
yes, I do. What is Siggy alerting for today?
We had a SIG alert overnight. Last night about 11 o'clock, a big rig and a Corvette got into it and closed the 134 freeway.
Never good.
The big rig went sideways to cover all the lanes, which you can do if you bring your truck down just so. And the Corvette did not turn out very well. They're, what are they made of? What's their type
Well,
of
now
plastic?
it's kind of a carbon fiber composite and fiberglass, uh, mostly plastic.
They were saying in the report that Kristen read to me that a car, maybe the Corvette, maybe not the Corvette, was moving in and out of traffic irregularly, like people do when the freeway opens up,
Yeah.
and that led to the mishap. By the way, speaking of moving in and out of traffic, as I mentioned to you off the air, we went to babysit over in Woodland Hills for my grandchildren.
Mm.
Left early Saturday morning, and the freeway was empty. Freeway was empty at 6 o'clock in the morning on a
That's a
Saturday.
rarity.
That's a rarity for LA. So cars that could go fast did go fast. And you know who was out there knowing that the freeway was empty and people were going to be going quickly?
Well, I'm going to say the Pasadena division of the California State Highway Patrol, aka
California State Highway Patrol and Broderick Crawford riding along. He was doing a ride along. We're out in force, and there was a small fender bender on the side of the road. The cops are there, but they were also knowing that hey, people think that if we're at the wreck, we're not on the road, but there's more of us.
yeah.
There was one CHP on a bike, and he caught one, and another guy in a sedan caught another. So Saturday morning, the temptation to drive faster in LA because there's room on the freeway to actually go too quickly. Usually you can't speed in LA because there's no place to speed to. They've got way too much competition on the road.
Right.
So Saturday morning is a good time to get a ticket if you want one.
Well, I used to pull that trick. I saw them use that on Saturday mornings outside the Caldecott Tunnel on the Berkeley
Just
side,
waiting for you.
which is California State Route 24 for those who may have not been to the Bay Area. But to get from Oakland and San Francisco, you over to Walnut
Over
Creek
in
And out that
Right.
way, you have to go
Arenda.
through these tunnels. And, coming back from it's not so bad going out to Walnut Creek, but coming back, you come out of the tunnel and you have like a sweeping downhill kind of thing that takes you into the west side of the east side of Berkeley. And it's like a 10-lane road and it's going downhill and it's just, it's that strip of highway that we all dream of. And the sun kind of hits you when you come out and you go, wow, boom. And the cops the highway patrol used to do the same thing. They would sit there, they wouldn't have an accident, but they would sit on the side there, um, and have a car either stopped or another car. It looked like they were busy doing something. One guy be standing up. And so you'd see that and you'd go, okay, take off, hit the gas.
The road's open.
And meanwhile, you get down by Telegraph Avenue, which is about a mile down the road there,
Lo and
and
behold.
they're just picking them off, man. They're just up, pull over, up, pull over, up, pull over. And if you're either forgetful or it's a Saturday morning and you're just thinking nobody else is on the road, no, they're out there.
Oh, they're out there.
And they're more than happy to pull you over and write you out. At the time was a $95 ticket. Now it's probably a $500 ticket.
That's an
But
interesting concept. I don't know what a ticket costs. If you're going 85 in a 65 zone,
well, I haven't gotten a speeding ticket in a long time. Last ticket I got was
illegal use of the hands.
yeah, I wish was a ticket that I probably, if I would have fought it in court, would have beat. It was when I had an accident a few months ago, and I came around a turn a little too fast and drifted over into the oncoming lane and sideswiped a Subaru. And it was my fault. I mean, it was a 20-mile-an-hour turn, and I was probably going into it about 30. And for some reason, matter of fact, I remember the reason. I was, testing out the lane keeping stuff to see if it worked on that kind of curve, and I can tell you now it
See
doesn't.
how it hugs the road.
Yeah, it didn't hug the road enough. It didn't like the road. They had an argument. I don't know what happened, but um, so that was 190.
Ooh, it was a
Uh,
moving violation.
$190. I think a speeder is probably, and that wasn't. They gave me a cross. What was it? Crossing unsafe lane change or something like that, which I kind of protested initially because I was of the mind of how can a cop write me out a ticket if he wasn't there? You know, I mean, he doesn't know that I unsafely changed the lane. I might have put my signal on and gone into that lane.
Was it a state trooper?
Yes, it was. It was Washington State Patrol. So I've always contested as well. How can you write me out a ticket for something? But the judge said, look, you can take this to trial, and then if we do that, well, call a cop in and this and that, and it's probably going to cost you about $500. The fine, because I'm probably going to find you guilty anyway, and the court costs. He said, or you could take this diversion, which says that if you don't get any tickets or any problems for a year, that this will go away. And I said to myself, I'm
I feel like a diversion. Yeah.
not getting tickets. This is the first one I've gotten in a long time. So I'll go for that. And it saved me, just the whole rigmarole of having to go back and a cop coming in, and they would, they just make it extremely hard for you to do it. And the bottom line was I was wrong. I did drift into the lane. So, there is that. Um, but when you go to traffic court, it's always a little bit of a game, right? You want to try to
Oh yeah.
beat the ticket if you can. So I did that, and I haven't gotten a ticket since. So I think I'm okay.
What were you driving when you drifted?
I was driving a Mitsubishi,
That's
little
Japanese. That's Japanese for top heavy.
SUV, and it responded real well. I mean, besides the fact that it drifted over into the lane, and the fact that I probably shouldn't have been testing it at that time of the day, that was probably a little stupid on my part. Um, but none of the airbags went off. The only thing that happened, and the only reason I couldn't drive the car, is because the little valve in the tire broke, and it let all the air out of the tire,
And you couldn't put it back in.
and I couldn't put the air back in, so they had to come and tow the car, and I had to get a ride back from, where was I? Arlington. So I mean, but that's the first
Could have been worse. You
accident.
could have been in Carnation.
Excuse me.
It could have been worse. You might have been in Carnation.
Oh yes, I could have been in Carnation. Ugh, yes, but everything worked out. I mean, I don't know. The insurance companies fought it out and whatever, and but I told a woman from the insurance company, "Listen, I hate to tell you this, I'm wrong." So you know, it's gonna be you're not gonna like me much after this, but I'm gonna tell you the truth. This is what happened, and the guy who was driving the other car, which I was so thankful that it just came over and the two sides of our cars hit,
Right.
not head on, because
That would have been ugly.
yeah, no, that wouldn't have been too good. Um, so he didn't get hurt too much. He got a little scratch on his neck. I guess his mirror broke, and he had his window open. And a piece of the glass came flying in, but he was okay. And um, that was it. But that was $190 for that. I think speeders. I don't think you get a speeder in Washington that's under $400. I think that's like the minimum.
Speaking of state troopers, I had a state trooper that made regular appearances on my show in Wenatchee,
Ah,
and he did a video for just to put on the website, his own personal Facebook site, of what it's like on a frozen road when you hit the brakes at 60 miles an hour, how long it takes to stop. And it was a revelation because that damn he had a Ford Explorer, probably loaded with extra equipment. But when he hit the brakes at 60, it took forever
yeah.
for that thing to stop. And it was an illustration of what they always tell you, which you listen to but don't file away: drive for conditions.
Yeah.
Well, people who cause accidents never drive for conditions. They're always fascinated. Well, I've hit the brakes, the car wouldn't stop. Well, did you notice that the road was frozen? It's always frozen. Every winter is like that.
Yeah. Well, you always have people that believe that because they bought four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, that it means that they can do 80 miles an hour. I mean, how
And
many
drive where I
times do you
want to
want to
and
go?
stop how I want to.
Yeah, in wet conditions, not even snowy. Let's not even talk about snow and ice, just wet conditions. And some clown in a pickup truck with the tires sticking out from the side goes flying past you at 95 miles an hour. It's almost inevitable you're going to see that person driving past you, or with a big SUV with the tires sticking out. What they don't realize is those tires create more of a surface for the water to stay under, which means that they will hydroplane, which means in reality you have less because two ends of that tire are up off the pavement and have a ton of water under them.
So you're talking about when the rubber meets the road.
The name that's known is Firestone. where the rubber meets the road. So
In ideal conditions, I should say, in ideal
yeah,
conditions.
so when you go through snow or ice or water, it lessens the efficiency of the tires by, probably a power of 5 or 6. I mean, it really, and when you have, and the bigger the tire you have, the it's not the big tires, the tread design on the tire or the studs or what you put on the tire, your chains. That's why they tell you to put your chains on because they bite into the snow. Regular tires quickly fill up with snow because the tire's hot. It melts the snow gets into the tire, and then it gets cold again on the trip up, and
You
it
just got a
freezes
nice
the
you
tire.
got a nice frozen surface.
Yeah, it doesn't take long for that to happen, and you and the scariest 30 seconds of your life is when you're barreling down a mountain pass
Hydroplaning.
sideways
Yeah.
and have no control. You're turning the wheel every which way, and you're thinking, should I jump? you know, uh, it's a very scary. I mean, I've taken winter driving courses and have learned how to drive in the winter at the same people who teach the police how to drive in the winter, and it astounds me that anybody would drive their car anywhere over 20 miles an hour in the ice and the snow. I don't care if you're on the freeway, not on the freeway, on the streets, wherever you are. Um, and I consider myself a good foul weather driver. Again, I know what I'm doing out there, but you can't. Again, you see these yahoos that just go blowing by you, and you scratch your head, you go, my God! I mean, you got kids in the car and everything, and you're just sailing along. You don't want to miss the beginning of the football game.
Well, as I make about a once a week trip through the valley, I go the 134 to the 101, past the 405 break, past the 5 merge. I see a lot of traffic. And invariably, Vinny, without fail, no matter how crazy the traffic is, no matter how slow the traffic is, no matter how beautiful the weather, there's always somebody who thinks they can get there faster by changing lanes, by speeding people, by driving like a damn fool is what it amounts to. And you don't see it once a month; you see it every trip
Every
around
day.
LA. Around every day, every trip around LA, I see people driving like fools.
Yeah, you see it here too. I mean, I think it's everywhere. I think, as a matter of fact, I would hazard a guess to say that I probably at one time in my life was one of those people who thought
Oh,
that
I
you
can't believe that. I
get
can't believe that.
someplace, you know, and there's certain applications where that will work. I mean, especially if you're in the city and you know how to drive through traffic. Yeah, you could probably get there a minute faster.
Save yourself 60 seconds.
you know, you gain a big minute. And now I don't do that because it takes me 2 minutes to get out of the car. So what am I really gaining?
I'm here. I just can't get out.
Just gonna take me a few minutes to get out of the car. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. But yeah, people get stupid, and especially around this time of year, they just get stupid around driving.
Hey, you
And
probably saw that accident on the Rainbow Bridge. Remember, we were on the air when it happened. The guy that ran through the
yeah,
security at the
yes,
border.
yeah.
You know what he was driving?
Um, um, Boy, a Bentley, I think.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Now you get to go fast enough to get a Bentley airborne. You really got to be putting some
Well,
RPM
they're
going.
surprisingly quick. I mean, I will say that about a Bentley is it's a very powerful car. I mean, I forget which one he was driving, but I'm going to say it probably had about 650 horsepower at least. But
Wow.
they're heavy cars.
Yes.
They're extremely heavy. Um, so yeah, it's quite a feat to get that car to go up in the air. Um, I don't know. I haven't read much about it since. I know that I don't know if they determined if they did the autopsy and found out that the guy had some kind of a health problem or heart attack or something like that.
Well, he was going to go to he and his wife were going to go to a concert, but the concert was canceled. So they went to a casino, and directly from the casino, he began acting erratically.
Hmm.
It's those free drinks that they give you when they take that they don't give you.
Yeah, not for nothing, but especially in Buffalo, they're probably using cheap liquor. Uh, I mean, it probably went to the Anchor Bar, and you know, yeah. I mean, people forget this, and it's something that I always am aware of because I know what it's like for it to happen. But you get older and you're taking all these different medications, and then you slug down a couple of pops, and it acts mighty funny. And the next thing you know, you get the windows rolled down, and you're singing the Looney Tunes theme song and driving down the street at 80 miles an hour, and got no idea what in the world's going on, and you don't have
Well,
the reaction time that you used
whatever
to
it
have.
was, it's not going on anymore.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, the unfortunate thing is that there's his wife, I guess, was with him, and
Yep.
who knows. She was probably screaming at him to stop, but who knows? Who knows what happened? I guess they'll reconstruct it and they'll spend millions of dollars to try to figure out. Bentley will get involved because they'll certainly want to know if it's something that their
Accelerator stuck or
car
something.
did. Yeah, yeah, they're very those car companies. The high end car companies. I mean, they'll send an investigative team out there to look at the black box in the car and try to see if they can figure out exactly what went wrong.
FBI has said that they were closing the case and giving it back to the traffic police.
Yeah, well, yeah, because they had thought. I mean, the immediate reaction was,
Trouble.
somebody bombed us. Especially with the whole Israel thing going on, that somebody was trying to come in through the Canadian border and bomb us, and all of that, which is immediately the way people think these days. Not to mention the fact that it breaks up a boring afternoon of having to talk to somebody else about something. It's actual breaking news, but it's not because it's a traffic accident. But we can get clicks on our website from it, so we may as well show it off. Um,
The concert for George plays every once in a while on PBS, so they can do the pledge drive, get people to join PBS, get people to support their local station.
yeah,
And they had so many guitars. They had Eric Clapton, they had Paul McCartney, they had Jeff Lynne, they had uh, the guy from Heads, Hands, and Feet, another great lead guitarist. But there was two guys that didn't get any credit, get no mention, and get no screen identification whatsoever, who sat center stage in the back by the drummers and did all the George Harrison slide work themselves. It was perfect. It was note for note. It was tone perfect. It was everything. And these guys got no credit. And they played the best parts of the evening. They played, how George Harrison used the slide guitar,
yeah, yeah.
which he picked up from Eric Clapton, who picked it up from Dwayne Allman. It was
Elmore James got nothing on this baby.
the whole the whole recreation of the Harrison sound was given to two guys who played in harmony flawlessly all night and never got they'd show Eric Clapton playing an acoustic Martin and the slide guitars being played in the back without even a camera shot.
So who were these guys?
I don't know.
Oh, so you
I
know,
have
so
I
you
have
know.
no idea. I thought one might have been Andy Fairweather Low, but I don't really know. There was no way to identify them.
Now, was that the concert? How long ago was that concert filmed?
It was filmed 1 year to the day after George Harrison's death, so it was
So is that the show that Prince came out and
no,
okay, because there's
no.
a great clip on YouTube, and I don't
I
know
know,
where it's
I know the one you mean. I
of
know,
Prince playing "While My Guitar Gently Weeps"
correct.
and just you know just ripping. Um, but I don't know what show that was from. Um, yeah, that's weird that they wouldn't have the credits for or that they wouldn't give them proper due. I'm sure that it's probably on the
They
clip.
may have mentioned them in the longer version, but in the television version,
Well, that's one of the sad things.
they played beautifully, but didn't get credit.
Yeah, one thing on those I notice on many of those musical programs when they cut them down for pledge break,
Yeah,
they cut them down to an hour or something like that, and or less actually, because they have to get the 20 minutes of incessant begging in that hour. Um, is that they edit out so much in those of those concerts, and I don't know who has I don't know if that's Lubinsky that does all of that for the nationally or what, but I mean some of them they edit they really take a chop and they really take the knife to.
is T.J. Lubinsky a Pittsburgh DJ?
Uh, he is from Pittsburgh, uh, but he's not on. He wasn't on the air when I was there. Um, I think he did work at a couple stations there, but he had kind of moved on to to PBS by that time.
Right.
Um, I mean, there's a guy that built a nice little business for himself. Him and I forget what's his. It'll come to me in a minute. His partner, the musical director, the guy with the beret, that plays saxophone, I believe. Um,
Skip Sugarman.
yeah, Biff, the Biffer. The Biffer. But it's funny because I had a conversation once. I went to a couple of those shows, and I was having a conversation once in the audience with a friend of mine that I went with, guy that worked for Associated Press in Pittsburgh, and we were kind of counterpointing. Was he exploiting these? Was it one more exploitation of these bands or of these different? Because yeah, I can't imagine they were paying them a lot of money to do it, but it was a chance for them to get back out on stage and recreate their sound and tell their story. But TJ obviously was making some serious coin off of this stuff. Um, and was
So,
it?
so you have to put it to the bands. You say, "Look, you've been exploited, but here's a chance to be exploited before there's no time left to be exploited."
Yeah, pretty much so. I mean, now they did, to their credit, they did a great job. I mean, they dug out a lot of the original members of these bands where there were still original members that were alive. I mean, of course, now we're talking 20 years later, most of them are gone. But, they had found the five Satins, or I think four of them. I think one of them had died. They had found, um, boy, the one that was really interesting is they found Kathy Young,
Oh God,
who did 1,000 Stars.
yeah,
And I guess she was in the Pittsburgh area.
huh?
And they found her. They found Jimmy Beaumont and the Skyliners. Went hard to find them because, again, they were a Pittsburgh group and they were around. Um, Who else did they dig up? They dug up Lou Christie. Uh, so they did a good job. It's hard for me to fault them because they must have spent a ton of time
Putting it together.
putting it together because they really had to search high and low. Because the one thing that they did do is they were trying to recreate the sound. So they were true to the original
Right.
the original arrangements, and all of that stuff. I forgot we weren't talking sports. Um,
It was Phil Spector who had the arrangements.
yeah, Phil had the arrangements on his songs, but and I appreciate, it's what I was used to appreciate about Paul Schaefer is that he, no matter what the expense was to go through and bring somebody in or whatever it was to get the original feel to that song. And you really see it as in the Christmas Baby Please Come Home songs,
Yeah.
where he went from um, in 86, I think it was, or 85, the first one, where it was, just him and the band. And went from that to getting in a full course, a full, down to the French horn. I mean, he literally recreated. He even had Ellie Greenwich in there playing piano with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on a few of them. Yeah, he had Ellie. He had Ellie Greenwich, and then I remember on the when they did MacArthur Park. One year they did MacArthur Park for Dave. Actually, they did it for Harry, Dave's son, because he had asked his father at some point why'd they leave the cake out in the rain. So Paul put together this whole production, and they actually brought in not Richard Harris. I'm sorry, Jimmy Webb to play piano with Paul. So I mean, Paul Schaefer was what I always admired about him is how true he was to those original arrangements. And Lubinsky kind of took that same route, is where they had, they didn't do it like with a cheap, where the bands or the groups didn't have the voices anymore. They brought in backup singers.
Right.
And matter of fact, there was this one group that they brought in a lot, 14 Karat Gold or something, I think they were. And they really added, it sounded like it was the record. And they did a great job. I mean, I'm sure he made a ton of money off of that, but they really preserved a piece of our musical history.
And you can see them year after year on PBS.
Oh yeah, they're great to watch. There's I think my favorite was Eddie Holman.
Eddie Holman.
Eddie Holman, Hey There Lonely Girl,
Yeah.
came out and he just killed the song, man. He hit every note. He hit, he just had such an electrifying presence on stage. And, when he's getting to the end of the song and he starts to go up, he starts reaching for the high notes, nobody is expecting him to hit any of them. He's an older guy, But man, Eddie went through those notes like it was butter, man. Like he was
How
18.
about Lou Christie with all his falsetto parts? Lightning
Yeah,
strikes
Lou
again.
was good too. Lou did it really well. The Vogues,
5 o'clock Wild.
yeah, 5 o'clock World, and I'll tell you who was really off the charts, and this is a guy who died probably a year or two after I had seen him, but Jay Black
Oh yeah.
from Jay the Americans did Cara Mia like he was 18 years old. Now I don't know if they were using auto tuning or I don't know what they were using. They it's hard for me to believe that all of these people hit their, um, but boy, oh boy, you know, they were true to the original arrangements, and some of these people came out and showed surprising um, voice calisthenics with some of these
Yeah.
songs. Yeah, it was really something to see. I was so glad that I got to go and see some of those live. That it was, and and they were tedious because some of them they had to do a couple of takes. I mean, it's
Oh
it's
yeah.
a little bit different. You're not just going to a concert. They're coming out, they're shooting from this angle, they're bringing them back out to do another. It's then you got to clap. I mean, it's really it was a very interesting process to watch. Um, the guy that I mean, I think TJ directed those things, if I'm not mistaken, and really did a great. I don't know what his experience was with directing, but he did a great job. Henry DeLuca was the guy that's his partner that
Ah.
did all the arrangements. Fantastic arranger. I mean, really
Hey,
just had. I mean, I'm sure the arrangements were there, but to recreate the sound,
and what theater did they use in Pittsburgh?
they what the heck is the name of that theater? God, it's right on Third, right down the block from the Hilton. Oh man, I can't remember the name of the theater, but old theater. I mean, it was an
Oh yeah,
old
it was suitable for the.
refurbished. One thing
Yeah.
Pittsburgh has really done nicely is they've taken their downtown theaters, of which there were many. I mean, you tend to forget sometimes that Pittsburgh was the fourth largest city in America
At
and
one
was
time.
was the center of wealth in this country for many, many years. You had the Carnegies living there and um, a bunch of different rich families. The Westinghouse
Hmm.
lived there. I mean, their mansion row rivals any mansion row you'll see. Um, but oh man, what is the name of that theater? It'll come to me.
It'll come to you. Since we talked last, we had a thing called the Apple Cup. You probably heard of that game.
Great game,
Great game.
great game. I mean, it's hard to
Can't play it much closer.
yeah, and it was hard to root against the Huskies because there was so much on the line for them, and I don't know. I mean, I was rooting for the Cougs, and I was sad that the Cougs didn't win, but I wasn't upset that the Huskies won. I mean, I like the idea. I like their coach. Obviously, we've talked about it a bunch of times. I think they got a good team. A very good team. Well disciplined, well trained,
and
um,
and pretty hard to beat.
and very hard to beat. You don't want to draw the Huskies, man. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the Pac-10 championship game, which is it next week in Vegas?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
It
think
was
it's next week.
it's
Um,
fascinating that there's no way that the schedulers can get those two teams to play together again ever. It doesn't make sense to me.
what the
The Apple
Huskies
Cup.
and Cougs?
Yeah.
Oh no, they're continuing it. Yeah, no, they signed it. I guess they announced that there's a 5-year extension.
Of the
So
Apple
they'll
Cup.
Yeah, for the Apple Cup. So they'll play the game actually at Lumen Field
Ah,
next.
neutral site.
Yeah, play it at Lumen Field next year, and then they'll go back to Pullman, and then alternate for the following years. So
Well, that's
it,
great. I
it'll
didn't
live
know
for
that.
5 more years. Yeah, you can't lose those. Although again, it'll mean less in the bigger scheme of things. It's virtually going to be just another, you know,
A rivalry.
Yeah, yeah. No, it'll just be another non-conference game. But the rivalry, I think, will people will keep the rivalry alive.
Well, they have to.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when I was in Pittsburgh. Pitt and Penn State used to meet all the time before I got there, and I think for 7 of the 10 years I was there, they didn't play each other
At all?
at all. And then finally, uh, yeah, somebody had pissed Paterno off, and so he stopped. I think Pitt might have beat Penn State up there one year,
No, that's what pissed him off.
and that pissed him off. And they stopped the series, and they didn't do it for, like I said, 10 years, 15 years.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Too much power, Paterno. Too much power.
Well, yeah,
Obviously.
yeah. Although you'll get an argument from people in Pennsylvania that he didn't have enough power.
Oh, he had enough. He just didn't use it.
You'll get it from, well, no, he did use it. I mean, no, he did. He tried to crush the Sandusky thing, and that's when he found out he didn't have as much power as he thought he did.
It's the wrong kind of juju.
Well, yeah. I mean, he didn't see the train that was coming down the tracks. That type of behavior usually is bigger than just about anything that you as a football coach are going to have the power to stop. I mean, every once in a while it gets swept under the table. I mean, I'm pretty sure that there were scandals and other
Before
stuff
that, sure there
swept
were.
under the table.
Right.
But I do think, after analysis, living that story for 2 years or more, actually, um, and I mean, it was such a huge. I mean, you can't imagine how huge that story was. Um, it seems that somebody there had been bad blood between Paterno and the school board, the board of regents before the Sandusky thing, and they were looking for something.
They were lying in wait.
Certain people were looking for something, not everybody. There was certainly many more Paterno apologists than there were um, people that wanted to get rid of him. But yeah, they were lying there, and when the Sandusky thing came up, it just it rolled into something that was way too big,
Prairie fire.
and all of a sudden, you couldn't walk away from it.
But it was called Happy Valley. Wasn't everybody happy?
Well, it's a shame because it's one of the best college towns. It's bigger than Pullman, but it's got that same kind of Pullman appeal to it. It's everything in the town is around Penn State. It's a beautiful setting. It's a beautiful stadium.
Are there any Nittany lions walking around in the hills
There's a few
free?
still up in the hills. But it was a great place to go watch a game. It was a great place to go, and you had the same kind of Pullman thing going on where you'd stop in Oil City and grab a milkshake, and then keep going.
I wouldn't want to put an Oil City milkshake up against a Washtuckna milkshake, and what have you got?
I think you're going to go with the Washtuckna.
All right.
Although the Oil City milkshakes were pretty good. I mean, I got to admit, but they didn't have they didn't have nothing on Washtuckna.
Could you get a malted?
You could get a malted. You could get a malted, and you get a malted in in State College. You get them malted in Belfont. You know, you could get a pretty darn good malted, and what you could get in Belfont too is fried chicken,
Oh, I like fried chicken,
and you could go to the
but I'm sort of stuck on my craving has to do with a malted and a patty melt.
mm, that's a good combo there, Michael.
That's a good combo.
That's a good combo right there. You couldn't go
I
wrong with
may
that.
make it myself. I may just actually do that myself with Impossible Burger meat. You ever had an Impossible Burger?
Yeah, yeah. They're okay. I mean, I'm not gonna, it's not beef, but it's a pretty
No,
good job.
pretty good job.
It's a pretty good job at it. Whatever they've done to whatever they're using, um, replicates the meat pretty well.
I'm trying to think of the patty melt. Do you do the you put the you have to cook the meat, but they have to be you have to melt the cheese while it's attached to the rye bread. I'm a little uncertain of the order of
You put the piece of rye bread onto you put a little
base.
butter on
Put
each
a lot
side
of
of the
butter.
rye bread,
Yeah,
and then you put the rye bread down. You put the hamburger down. You put the cheese on top of it,
right.
and you take a cover
Ah,
and you put a cover over the uncovered, just the one piece of bread, and let that go for a couple of minutes. Probably about a minute should do it, a minute and a half.
both sides.
You lift it up, and you put the other piece of rye bread on top of it, if that's the way you go. And sometimes people serve them open faced.
Oh no, I must.
Uh,
They must be
I've
fused
seen them
together.
open faced. And then you put another piece of cheese and a top piece of rye bread with a little bit of butter on the top. Put the cover back on and just let the steam take over and do its thing.
The next thing you know,
Next thing you know, you got yourself a patty melt.
I'm going to do it
It's all about directing the heat, Michael.
and
You want
covering.
to direct the heat to the right place.
I won't let you down.
I think you'll do a fine job. I think you've got the basics already.
Well,
Um,
I just got a fresh loaf of Jewish rye, so I'm ready to go.
there you go. Levy's
Oro wheat.
Orally. Yeah, they're pretty good. Um, I like there was we used to get really good Jewish rye in New York in the delis.
Of course.
Grossinger's.
Oh, okay.
Grossinger's had like a yellow label. So you had Grossinger's, you had Levy's, you had Fink, which went out to all the restaurants. But if you knew the guy in the deli, he would sell you a loaf of bread.
Ooh.
Um, where else did we get? Oh, uh,
Grossinger's was affiliated with the
I
resort.
don't think it was. I think it was a different. I think it was a different people.
The
Um,
hotel with Solomon Grossinger, the bread was Boini.
the
You remember
bread was
Boini?
plain. Did you ever see? There's a great documentary about Grossinger's. I don't know if you ever saw it. It floats. It's on YouTube, but it's a PBS
Mm-hmm.
documentary about Grossinger's. Really, they're actually doing a museum of the Catskills. A friend of mine has actually been helping him out on the project.
Now, the
Uh,
Catskills is where Rip Van Winkle fell asleep, right?
yeah, there was a little place there called Rip Van Winkle Park where you could go and take the kids.
Shh. He's sleeping.
Well, that
Shh.
was the problem with the places. You brought the kids there and you didn't see them for 20 years, which for some parents was a blessing.
Was a blessing. May their memory be a blessing.
Yes. Come, drop them off here, come pick them up in 20 years over there. just in time to send him to college. Oh man, what else? So yes, the Apple Cup. Oh man. Well, it's good that it'll survive. It didn't seem to have the oomph around here that it has in the past, but I don't think it does. When it's a lot more meaningful, I think, when the teams aren't that good.
Yeah,
You
because
know,
it's the last vestige of hope for a successful season.
yeah, because you can always go to the office and say that you knocked off the Huskies,
No,
kept them on
they came
hold.
close, but they made just enough mistakes not to.
Yeah, the refs were a little. I will. I'm never one to complain much about the refs, but I thought that there was some calls there that, to me, I don't know, definitely didn't
Even
go.
Brock Heward would agree with you.
Yeah, yeah, they didn't. They didn't. They were calls that probably should have been left.
The roughing the passer at the end.
Yeah, just alone, and they decided that. But listen, it benefited what was left of the Pac-10 for the Huskies to go undefeated. It benefited them for the Huskies to, get to, have that kind of storyline.
And it
Um,
might have given Cameron Ward a chance to make it to the NFL. He had a good game.
I think it did, yeah, and I think it really shot Michael Penix's Heisman hopes in the foot.
He didn't look Heisman worthy that day.
No, the Huskies didn't play a great game. No way, shape, or form. They weren't the Huskies that we had seen all year. They were, without a doubt, they were different. And he was really different. He was not what he was all year. I saw him have some incredible games this year,
Yes.
and and in the rain and everything. The game against Oregon State, man, a couple of weeks ago. He was just off the charts. But in this game, for whatever reason, um,
They
his
couldn't find their offense.
yeah, his butthole just got, you know, um, I don't know what he was so. I mean, he looked distressed at the end of the game.
Oh yeah. Well, he saw how close he came to losing it all.
Yeah, yeah. Well, but see, here's the thing, Michael, and this is why I don't have a big problem with the whole God thing. But here's a kid that every time he won a game, he would do his post game interview and he'd give me 5 minutes on why God helped him win the game.
Because God had 5,000 on the first
Yeah.
quarter score.
And now he has a crappy game. They win, but they almost blow it.
He's got nothing to say.
And where's God now? Was God busy with the Alabama Auburn game?
Now,
Uh,
God spent the night above the Coug.
yeah.
He
I
didn't
mean
get any sleep.
that's the danger to me of always invoking God when you win or lose games. As much as I believe in God, I don't think that God sits around and says, "I'm going to be on the Husky side today," or else you believe in God.
God's a little pissed off because he invented rugby and they're just not using it like they used to. He gave him a perfectly good game.
Yeah,
The question from God is, what's with all the pads and the helmets?
yeah. I told you guys to go out there and beat the crap out of each other, and in exchange for it, I would give you CTE,
And it seemed like a good deal to
and
him.
so you wouldn't remember any of this.
So you
Um,
would remember how you got it.
Yeah, you wouldn't remember how you got it. You just vaguely remember that the bathroom is over there. Um,
Actually, that's the kitchen. Look out.
well, over there, back there. Um, So so I've never felt comfortable with people coming, and I've always said, well, if that's the way they get through it, that's the way they get through it. But again, we had another situation where, if God does all of that, why not stand up and explain why God made you play like play badly that day? Did you lose your faith in God?
It's the other way around. God got distracted.
Did God think he had a better, he would see more girls at the Auburn Alabama game or the Michigan State game?
Michigan, Iowa State. No, I mean
Michigan Iowa State.
Ohio State. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Did I mean, how does that work? I mean, again, I think it's I do get not upset, but it lessens when people in sports say that God got them there or God put them there. I always really take it with a grain of salt because I just think that God, if God does that kind of stuff,
God's
then
responsible for salt too, by the way,
there you go.
and pepper. I should mention that for all you pepper fans.
I can't win for losing then.
For people who want to take it with a grain of pepper instead of salt, I don't know.
Yeah, nobody ever goes with a grain of pepper, do they?
No, the option's right there. It's right there in front of you.
I'd have no problem going with a grain of pepper, but I'd
Or
want
a grain of Lowry salt, which is neither pepper or salt.
right. It's a compound.
It's a mixture, a mystery sauce.
It's not NaCl. It is something
No, it's
quite
not.
different.
And they say it doesn't have certain things in it, but I bet it does.
Well, it's got certain things in it that they don't want you to know about.
MS.
And if that's the case, then why don't they publicize saltpeter in the same way?
That's why you can't find out what an MSRP really is because it's a suggested price and it doesn't mean anything. So why mention
Yeah, it's only a suggestion, folks. It's not a reality. All right. What anything happening this week that we should know about?
it? Today's Cyber Monday. Do you want to buy a cyber?
I think we're not. The only thing I want's an Eisenhower jacket. Well, I take that back. I mean, I do want a new camera. Um, but the camera in my phone works so well
I know.
that I think about that sometimes. I mean, I'd like to. Uh, I, I mean, I shoot all of my video on my phone camera, and I think it looks as good as anything anybody shoots with
Oh, yeah.
with whatever.
With an over the shoulder $5,000 camera.
Yeah, I just don't think that they shoot that much better. Um, so I do kid myself sometimes into thinking I want, a new camera, but then I start to think about it and wonder if, how much better is it going to look
Well, you'd be
when I
better off with
shoot
just a new
video?
phone then. New phone's your answer.
Well, I got it. I mean, I got a 15. So I got the best camera you could buy on a phone. Um, I think I don't know. Maybe
You're set. Next picture you take is of your Eisenhower jacket.
I've never shot a video with an what is it, Android phone. So I
No,
don't
I
know
haven't
what
either.
what works better. All I know is this one works about as good as you could expect something to work. I mean, it's phenomenal.
Well, the quickening for the Christmas season is just about to begin, so gird your loins.
I'm girding my loins and seeing how many Christmas parties I don't get invited to. I'm thinking that the Washington Republicans are not going to invite me to their Christmas party.
They'll invite you, but it's a setup, so do not go. Do not seek the treasure.
Yeah, I'm already thinking they got a photographer on the hill, and just waiting for me to come out of the party and take pictures, catch me with doing something I should, you know, I mean, the biggest thing you can catch me doing these days is peeing on the side of the car or something like that. That's probably my biggest transgression. No more pants in the dumpster. Those days are long gone.
And it's just as well.
Yeah. Those were days. I don't know what kind of days they were, but they were days. All right, man. Well, I will catch up with you on
Let's
Wednesday.
make it a wacky Wednesday, and I'll be here.
I get a wacky Wednesday. You be there. Try, get some, you know, get some good more golf swings in with the kids.
Actually, their effortless swings are fun to watch. They just don't care.
Kind of like me when I
Whack.
swing. Just shoot, just hit it right.
Just hit the damn ball straight. That's all there is
Just hit
to
the
it.
ball. That's all. That's what we're here for. Hit the ball. That's why you get a bucket of them, so you can keep hitting them. All right, Pally.
Wednesday it is, Vin. I'll see you then.
Wednesday. We'll see you Wednesday morning. I'm sure that we'll have tons to. The family. All right, yeah, they're letting more hostages go today. Yeah, if there's anything good in the world, I mean, at least they're letting some of these people go. What a nightmare that must be.
It's an ugly, ugly story, a low point in history.
Yeah, and it ain't going to get prettier anytime soon.
No, they're already thinking about the next time. Well, the next time we do this, we want to come back and we want to do your neighborhood.
Exactly.
We didn't get to it this time, but there'll be a next time, and we'll be back and we'll do it.
You don't want to send anybody into my old neighborhood. You're not going to come out of that one good. There's guys there that aren't going to let you leave in one piece. All right, Mikey. See you Wednesday, man. Peace. If the Lord's willing, the creek don't rise. Peace, love, Manischewitz.
What a wine. See you,
See you,
man.
Mikey.